Studying at university is expensive. Now, studying at a university in London is even more expensive. Hey guys, my name's Alphie and I'm a 5th year med student, and today I wanted to talk about how I try to budget as a student living in one of the most expensive cities in the world. Hopefully you find some of these tips useful, but before I go into that, I just want to give a little bit of background information to kick things off. So I feel like sometimes money is a little bit of a taboo topic that people are kind of scared to talk about, but I actually do think it's something really important that we should discuss. I know that I definitely would have found it really useful to have seen how other people have tried to budget their lives in London before coming here in my first year, which is all the way back in 2016. So for a little background information, currently as a 5th year med student, I try to budget £350 a month for all my expenses that exclude accommodation and school fees. And so this £350 is dedicated to traveling, for food, which includes groceries, and for personal stuff, which includes going out with friends or getting anything for myself. Now, this used to be a little bit less when I was in my pre-clin years, where I actually lived closer to uni, and this was at £250 a month. So this works out to be about £87.5 a week now, and it used to be £62.5 a week. Based on this estimation by University College London for how much you should try and budget for your expenses living in London, you can see from this table for all the things I've mentioned, like food, travel, and personal stuff, that you should try and budget about £88 a week or £352 a month for all these different things. So I personally know some people who are getting by on less than that. I think that just shows you that there's a spectrum of how you can kind of approach this. Anyways, but with that out the way, let's jump into the tips. So my first tip is to plan your expenses. Now, when I say this, I don't mean be so strict with yourself where you have to literally track every single penny you're spending. What I mean is try and roughly work out how much you want to allocate to different things in your life. So for example, for me, I know that because I have to travel in and out a lot, going to the hospital and things like that, then I need a travel card. And that works out to be about £100 a month, which I know is steep. But back in the pre-clin days when I lived close to uni and I could just walk to uni, I knew that I didn't have to get this and I knew I could kind of just top up whenever I needed. Now for food, this is where I splurge, I guess, a little bit. I try to allocate 30 to max £40 a week for my groceries. And whatever's left, I can use to go out with friends, back when you could go out with friends, and if I ever need to get anything for myself, I try to use that for that. But as you can see, that's a pretty simple outlook for how I try to break it up. It's not, okay, today I can only spend this much and that much and do this. It's not trying to live in that kind of way. My next tip is keep yourself accountable. And for me, the way I've done this is I've used an online bank called Monzo. And the great thing about Monzo is it's a debit card which links in with this really great app that you can have in your phone that helps you track everything you're spending. So you don't have to count everything and it'll just do it for you. And the great thing about it is it just helps with the first tip of planning your expenses, because you can see how much is going towards food and travel and whatnot, and you can make minor adjustments for how you should better spend your money. And on top of that, you can set a budget every single month. It'll do the math for you and tell you roughly how much you should be spending each day. And then from that, it can tell you when you start to spend a little bit over or if you're under, and then you can give yourself a little bit of freedom in that way. It doesn't matter what you use as long as you can use something that helps you stay organized and helps you stay accountable. So my next tip is focusing on getting groceries and cooking more for yourself. If you really want to save at university, the best way to start is to step up your game of cooking and to focus more on buying groceries as opposed to eating out all the time. Don't worry, you're going to start off with pasta just like everyone else. And all it really takes though is just with time, just try out new recipes, try out things you like, try to find things that are, easy and simple, and slowly you'll get the hang of it. Eating out in London is expensive. I feel like if I went to a restaurant, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm spending anywhere from £10 and above for something I'd say which is fairly decent. Obviously there are places you can go to which are a little bit cheaper, and obviously if you're getting takeout for maybe lunch and things like that, it might not be as bad. But what I'm trying to say is try to minimize how often you do so if your focus is to save money. I know that it's more convenient to just get takeout, but it's not necessarily as good for you as cooking for yourself. And you can kind of look after your wallet and also your health a little bit better when you're cooking for yourself. An app that I can really recommend that I guess kind of ties in with this whole food thing is Too Good To Go. Essentially, it's an app that you pay a little fee, so sometimes that's £3, maybe that's a little bit more, a little bit less, and you go to a restaurant nearby you, near its closing time, and you can collect a takeaway bag of food. Some places obviously give a little bit more, some places give a little less. There's an element of luck in terms of how good your haul can be. But I've had especially good luck at the Yo Sushi near where I used to live in first year, second year, and third year, so I can strongly recommend that. My next tip is getting a part-time job. I think the best thing you can do if you're trying to save money is to give yourself a little bit of freedom and a little bit of leeway by earning a little bit of money. Personally, I've worked in retail during my gap year where I worked at Hollister, but when I got to uni, I know that I couldn't work those kind of hours in a retail store. So instead, I focused on doing some private tutoring. I feel like by doing part-time work, whether that's F&B or retail or working at your university, at the cafe or helping out for tours and stuff like that, I feel like you can pick up so many new skills. So I definitely recommend doing that. When it comes to getting a part-time job, you do have to be careful with how many hours you do. You want to make sure you're not overdoing it and tiring yourself out to the point where you can't even spend time with your friends or with your family or doing the things that you actually want to do. And my last tip is just to review things every once in a while. So what I mean by that is after a couple of months of trying to plan your expenses, trying to cook a little bit more, focusing on groceries rather than eating out, trying to keep yourself accountable, see what was working, see what isn't. Like really ask yourself, am I working too much at my part-time job? Or am I being too strict on myself? Or actually, oh, okay, I'm actually able to save myself a little bit. Maybe I can be a little bit nicer to myself and give myself a treat every now and again. It's asking questions like, oh, do I really need this coffee every single time I go to uni? Could I just make a coffee at home? The whole point of that is just after a couple of months, once you tried something, you can kind of take a step back and just see what's working. But before I do go, I want to end on this point. Everything you do, whether it comes to saving money or really anything in life, is about balance. Saving is important, but you shouldn't feel the need to turn down opportunities where you could spend time with friends, make new memories, meet new people and things like that, just because you're worried about a couple of pounds. I guarantee you your budget will be all over the place in Freshers, but that's the whole point of Freshers. It's getting to know a new place, meeting new people, but also getting to know yourself and the ways you spend money and the ways you could save money. Well, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching, and until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.